Hi everyone, good evening. Good evening, my name is Ivan. I'm the programs manager here at Beyond Baroque. Welcome to the Wanda Coleman Theater and to tonight's program, poetry reading with Safia Elhillo, Jos Charles, and Sam Sax. I want to acknowledge our presence on the ancestral and unceded territory of the Tongva peoples. We recognize they're the first peoples of this land. We acknowledge the wrong done to indigenous communities through colonialism and genocidal practices. As an arts organization, we are committed to uplifting the community's stories and cultures. A few words about Beyond Baroque. We are a non-profit literary arts organization founded in 1968 by Judge Jory Smith. This building used to be the original City Hall building of Venice, and it operated as such until the late 70s. After that, Beyond Baroque moved into this space and is now home to poets, artists, and writers from the community of Los Angeles and beyond. We continue the 55-year legacy of this place through the extensive programming of readings with emerging and established authors to exhibitions in the Mike Kelly Gallery, as well as craft workshops in poetry, fiction, and nonfiction. Currently, we're also offering opportunities for artists at different stages of their career. We are accepting applications for the Linda J. Albertano Fellowship, named after the poet and performance artist. You can find more info about the fellowship and some of the events we'll be having in April for National Poetry Month, including a reading with queer experimental poets that will be featuring voices from New York and Los Angeles, as well as work in translation of Latin American poets like Carlos Acevedo and Margarita Pintado Burgos, Frank Baez from the Dominican Republic, and a group reading with Armenian American authors featuring Nancy Agabian, among a few other poets. But we're ending the month with the third edition of the Poetry Film Festival. Tickets will be out in a few days. It is a two-night festival, or one night and one full day, where the opening night will be screening Life is a Saxophone, a documentary film on the life of Watts poet Kamal Daoud. And we'll be screening a selection of international poetry videos or films that were submitted to this third edition. And lastly, we have workshops in poetry and fiction happening every week on Zoom, and currently have paid workshops facilitated by Miriam Chauncey in fiction and Brendan Constantine's 30 and 30 poetry workshop. A huge thank you and round of applause to Beyond Baroque team, Quentin Ring, Jimmy Vega, Eric Alberg, Pablo in the Bookstore, Genesis. Thank you all. And of course to our authors tonight, but all to Safia, Jos, and Sam. Please support our authors tonight. We have copies of the books, and I'm sure they'll be more than happy to sign them after the readings. It's just really a dream come true to have Sam in the space, of course, to read again with Jos and Safia. I first heard of Sam actually through Cal State Northridge, just being in classes and reading Madness. So it's really awesome to meet you finally. So 3 poets, each one will give a set, and I think instead of coming here to the podium presenting the other poet, I'll just read their bios and sit down and fanboy with you all. So first we'll hear from Safia, then Jos will come up and end with Sam. Just to let you know a little bit about them, Safia is an award-winning poet and author. Her debut, YA novel in verse, Home is Not a Country, was longlisted for the National Book Award and received a Coretta Scott King Author Honor and an Arab American Book Award. Her latest book is the YA novel in verse, Bright Red Fruit. Sudanese by way of Washington, D.C. Elhillo is a Pushcart Prize nominee, co-winner of the 2015 Brunel International African Poetry Prize, and listed in Forbes Africa's 2018 30 Under 30. She currently lives in LA. Jos Charles is the author of the poetry collections A Year and Other Poems, Field, which was a Pulitzer finalist and winner of the 2017 National Poetry Series, elected by Fadi Jura, and Safe Space. Charles is visiting faculty for UC Riverside's Creative Writing Department and teaches as a part of Randolph College's Low Residency MFA program. She resides in Long Beach. And Sam Sax. Sam Sax is a queer Jewish writer and educator. They are the author of Pig, Madness, which was winner of the National Poetry Series, and Bury It, winner of the James Laughlin Award from the Academy of American Poets. They're the two-time Bay Area Grand Slam champion, with poems published in the New York Times, The Atlantic, Granta, and elsewhere. Sax has received numerous fellowships and is currently serving as a lecturer in the Italic program at Stanford University. Their first novel, You're Dead, will be published by McSweeney's in 2024. All right, so first, please welcome Safia Elhillo, and Jos, and Sam. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So thrilled to get to celebrate my beloved Sam's new book, which is so good. If you don't already have a copy, please buy one. If you already have a copy, buy two. I am going to read some poems and then sit down so that I too can fanboy. This first poem is called Modern Sudanese Poetry. My husband works his fingers into the knot muscled against my spine, and my dead stay dead. My hair a knotted cursive language, my ligature, my grief barely literate, my amulets knotted around my neck and wrists, my language, cursive and silent, glottal and knotted and scarring the cheeks of my dead, adorning the hair of my dead, tallow in their braided hair. I read the books in translation. Where is the poem? And circle every word I know. Acacia, lupin, sandalwood, and ash. They ululate my dead. They squat like brides over clay pots of smoke, a yoke suspended in each open eye. And some, in truth, are not dead, my dead. And I am who is lost, who is not counted among the living. The poem is not owed me. I was wed in all the colors of my dead, the reddening, the borrowed gold. I wrote the poem in translation. I wrote the poem in the loophole. I wrote the poem in cursive. I snarled it. I picked apart the threads and wove a shroud. I was wed in it. I unfastened. I broke my fast with apricots, furred like the ears of my dead. I looked laterally for ancestors. I descended left and right. I read the book in Arabic, knew each letter and its sound, and did not recognize the words for tallow, for ululate, my dead, my languages, my ligatures, smoke in my loosened hair. Final Weeks, 1990. Hours before, the night outside is black as my grandmother's hair. It's newborn moon in Sagittarius, and in the Maryland house, my mother is 23 behind a winning hand of cards as the water darkens the length of her skirt. December now, and friends still call her al-arus, the bride, 11 months married and the shock of it not yet settled behind her eyes. Morning and the baby has not come. Milky winter sun in Sagittarius. I should mention there was a husband, 27. I can hardly imagine it. A boy that age, my father. I cannot picture him in the room, though his work for years to come will absorb him into countries that smell of blood. Maybe he is in the room now, not yet a specter. I sketch him in, but do not know where to put him. Maybe in the corner, back rigid against the white wall. I cannot imagine them ever touching. I smudge him out, correct the still wet scene. He is outside, long-limbed in a hard plastic chair. My mother called him Jack. and this is my only proof they were in love. My mother is almost my mother now, darker color of the noontime sun. In the waiting room, I should also place my grandparents, elegant in that old over-formal way of immigrants. My grandfather's shirt never without a collar, lush neatness of the afro against his head. My grandmother could pass for a film star, hair black and feathered down her back, any suggestion of curl or coil since burnt away and set every morning in hot rollers. Her eyebrows tattooed as they have been all my life, blue-black parentheses, both of them older than the independent state of the Sudan. My grandmother 13 years its senior. My grandfather a January child of unknown birthday, though the colonial offices record it as 26 years before his country is born. They are placid companions. Their courtship cooled amicably into a sort of siblinghood, and I have never seen them touch, so I cannot imagine it now. He paces the cool length of the hallway. 1 hour and 39 minutes past noon, that final diluvian push, and I am outside, full head of wet hair, pomegranate creature cawing that little animal sound, pronounced a girl and named for a dead great-aunt, the birth certificate dated and signed in ink. Back home, I would have been known by my first two names, mine and my father's, Safia Yaqub. The surname rarely used, but in the new country, the paper demands a patronym. Anglicized, the L becomes a looser L. Hello, meaning sweet, strange, unserious allonym of that first great-grandfather, and crowded together on a single line, marked first name, our names, mine and his, Safia Yaqub, little echo of that forgotten epithet, that once loved man, of Jack. And though I am not named from my mother, we match, Safa, noun form of my adjective, our shared first syllable. Closest I have ever seen them, him and her, almost touching. Orpheus. Mold blooms on the yogurt, furring the edges in ancient colors. My body is something I have worn for other people. Even 5 years ago, I would not recognize myself today. Married, gallon bags of animal bone and corn cobs in the freezer to boil for stock. I am far away from the cities of my girlhood, cool concrete of their stairwells. The new therapist wants a list of compliments I'd give myself on behalf of those who love me, and all I can come up with is resourceful. For a time, I believed myself in love with Orpheus, which only meant I loved what I could make if I were free from what happened to my body. That man who would never touch me, kept distant and without danger by the barriers of fiction. Then I believed the work would save me. I have no real use now for those Greek myths. They're dead girls, women raped by men and animals. Today the door is locked. Today nobody is outside. Muscle cramping mid-lap in the dark blue water. Now I embroider flowers in dim colors in my new country of flowers, clumsy stitches through the stencil of an orchid, remembering my younger mouth pressed to a flute, unable to release the breath. I'd liked that he was a musician, fingers long as spring onions. As a child, I ruined my sweaters, the sleeves tugged down to cover my hand before touching any doorknob or handling coins. Teenaged, loitering, urgently lonely. The cotton t-shirts curled at their sliced hems. Now I am thick-fingered and practical as my mother and her mother, smell of bleach against ceramic. Gone is Elle's humid little apartment, violent stain on the bathroom tile, a bottle of crimson nail polish shattered long ago and leaving streaks like blood. Her dirty living room where I slept for nights on end, though my own apartment was nearby, cleaner. I can't imagine them, the poems that softened the hearts of gods, the poems that changed anything. That night, metal of the fire escape against my bare legs, I accepted my first cigarette, and she allowed me to tell the entire story without using the real words. The night cooling and gathered close, the way nothing ever feels truly clean in summer. And all I know about Eurydice is that she died. My every other fact about her is about him. Second quarantine with Abdel Halim Hafiz. The lyrics do not translate. Arabic is all verbs for what stays still in other languages. Tasbah, to morning, but the translation to awake cannot honor, cannot contain its rhyme with tasbah, to swim, to make the night a body of water. I am here now, and I am not buoyant. I am 33 and always sick, small for my age and always translating. I cannot sleep through the night. No language has given me the rhyme between ocean and wound that I know to be true. Sometimes, when the doctors draw my blood, I feel the word at the edge of my tongue. Halim sings, aghraq, aghraq. I am drowning, I am drowning. The single word for all the water in his throat does not translate. Halim sings, teach me to kill the tear in its duct. Halim sings, I have no experience in love, nor have I a boat, and I know he cannot rest, cannot swim through the night. I am looking for a voice with a wound in it, a man who could only have died by a form of drowning. Let the song take its time. Let the ocean close back up. And then I am going to close with a new poem that I'm still kind of working out. So you all, by sitting there and listening to me read it, will be helping me work it out a little bit. So thank you. This is called Bass Lake. Bass Lake. For a week, we walked the roadside without pavement to the lake, cooked meals in the heavy iron pan, slept in the afternoons and talked easily, bare feet propped against the furniture. That year, had been especially cruel. Sickness and war. I slept chemically inside the hospital while my first country fell. My grandmother leaving behind books and gold to flee into the desert, home shrinking into the rearview mirror and then gone. Before cutting into my body, the surgeon asks about my name, correctly pronounces the ha, the letter fizzing in his throat. After crossing into Egypt, my uncle sends a photo. My grandmother's hair undyed for the first time, shock of white against her unlined face. I know I am being strange with my friends on this holiday, disappearing for hours into sleep, walking barefoot between the backyard and the house, rolling lemons onto the floor to make the baby smile, to crawl toward them. On the 7th day, we pack the cars, wipe out the fridge with bleach. Every day, I've waited for another bad thing to happen, waking in the mornings and holding my breath. Because they made it out alive, I am not allowed to mourn. The book I'd left tented on a nightstand. My grandfather's office, furnished in mother of pearl. Crossing the threshold for the last time, returning the keys to the lockbox, we find the body of a scorpion upturned against the hardwood. I am afraid to name everything this year has taken, afraid there will be more. Its body not yet dried by time, tail like a beaded necklace and glinting in the light. I study its anatomy, its knuckled abdomen, an organ whose name I learn is book lung. I was just there, not 11 months ago, sleeping in the desert, on holiday, the dark hot with constellations, thick streaks and swaths of visible stars, Orion and the scorpion sent to kill him, eternal neighbors now in the night sky, pyramids jutting from the sand like so many broken teeth. In the retelling, I don't think to mention that we lived, only that we walked barefoot, that the baby crawled on those floors. Almost, I can't stop saying, almost. My family lived, and still I can't stop writing about the house, the broken windows, the shot books, prosoma, metasoma, pincers, mouth. In this way I waste my living. A gone blue room, gone garden of gone succulents, my grandfather's gone grave, my living friends, teeth glinting in the low light, silverware against ceramic, Tarsus, Manus, Stinger, legs, book lungs, dark joints, the claws almost black. Thank you.
Safia. I can't see you, but I see glittering, so I know you are there glittering in the dark. Thank you, Sam, too. So excited and honored that you would include me. I'm also really grateful to Beyond Baroque, being a SoCal kid growing up in Santa Ana. I didn't know people, still wrote poetry, and this was like a place that I would pilgrimage to every so often, with my VW hatchback with the engine that was falling out. And then I would walk around the bookstore and just thought it was the most magical place. And I still get very nervous every time I come here because it feels, I feel very lucky to be reading here. I'm gonna read some sonnets. I don't really know what makes a sonnet, but I'm going to try and say what these are all new also. I don't know what makes a sonnet. I'm thinking about the Wanda Coleman now being here, and I'm thinking about the American sonnets, and I'm thinking about there's a kind of way I was taught poems where like a sonnet was some kind of form you could just like pour things into, and as long as it hit the right line length and the right syllables, like that's a sonnet, and maybe has a nice little turn at the end because we're English or something. And that's really strange. And I think what I like so much about the American sonnets is like they like address in a really public way, but because they're sonnets, right, that like sense of the intimate you, the beloved, like one always encounters it as an act of love, this like teaching and directness. It never comes off as like an invective, or at least for me and Coleman. And it's really beautiful. I think for me, I wanted like the sonnet as a kind of like net that could like try and hold some things happening in my life. And I knew stuff would fall through and it would fail. But hopefully in that like pulling them and the urgency and care and showing, shows a kind of love too, a different kind. I'll just read a few. This is about dropping out of a PhD program. From this side of the door, they speak to me of community. From certain positions, the most basic of truths, a mourning dove shocked in flight, is a lie. I left the university parking lot for the wilderness in my belly. I let the wind blow my pages a royal blue. I do not have a clue how long before they take us to joy. In a park, even the light will have been apocryphal. This is a very Long Beach poem. Strange sculpture of a beachfront. A tern sits beside me. A woman claws the sand as clean as a president. Christians above me sing again. I thought the car crash a part of their song. One cannot help but speak of the backside of words, the light of a shower curtain I disassociate from still. See, I thought you were a dog, death from a distance bent like that. It was like COVID and Joe Biden was coming to Long Beach. And so then they like brought out the big beach sanders and like cleaned the beach, which, was like also sweeps of like people who were residing on the beach, and it was really ridiculous and horrible. And then like they pulled them into piles that they just kind of like hid, and then then they didn't clean up for a while again. Clean. This was going to the beach with a friend, and they reminded me of someone who had passed. Coughing through weather, bees won't stop following me in. Stained a shirt, trying to remove a stain from a shirt. Tied my leg, how could it be otherwise to you? I laid the blanket down. No swimmer am I, Between your horns, two of them in the waves. Come back from the dead, I bow between your hands. Come back from the dead, I bow between your hands. Forgive me, I am a painter. I do not understand landscapes. I paint them. That was sometimes I have lines that sit around and they can't find poems. And I had stained a shirt trying to remove a stain from a shirt because I do that a lot. It's borax. Borax always gets me. We are helpless, and yet we help the skunk out the cabin in the dream. I cough and could not speak, the dust of estrogen having filled my mask. In a job interview, I say translation is like a dream, and it's about the community made possible by the text rather than the archaeology of it. In the interim between, an olive tree dies. Become a cistern, something Maximus wrote. The artist put a stone in the coppice to hold what grew the way around it. Keep watch with me, stranger. These nights have been long, and the embers few. I was a tax collector too. We called pawning the temple stone worship. This is a love poem and also a very Long Beach poem, because if you ever want to have a good date, go to the Long Beach Aquarium. It's where all the cool kids go, and they all get really, you got to get like a big gulp, and you got to get like some popcorn, and you got to, if it suits you, also be high. It's a good vibe, and then you go and just like eat popcorn and look at the ocean. There's only one ocean. We learned this too. Someone said, "How many oceans are there?" And you could tell by the tone, like it was one or like infinity, I got it wrong though. I said 7. The window blinds split open like wings of a holy book. At the apartment door, we linger like a t-shirt over a driver's seat. My arms become too heavy for me to reach. Beating the breath of my nostrils, the whole of my chest, I'd refuse the adjectives they affix to life, joy, death. Poetry is for the living, poems for the dead. Yellow scroll coral, skunk clownfish. In the Long Beach Aquarium, I'd touch your lip. I count in morning surf precisely 7 big gulps. How close it was then, our sun, to not alighting it. I'd offer you my left arm. I'd offer my right. I'd offer each word that is the genre of your lips. I'd touch you again from the inside. Across from the storage, store and save, I wrote, concerning devotion, there is no completion. When it rains, I cut the poem, shut the door. Writing around the manuscript's tear, I wanted to reach through the closest I have been in years to you. Leaving the dream for a dream unbelievable, I am asking you to leave. Outside the kitchen window, grass bows. When I open the refrigerator door, there, love, let me in. I like taking long walks in Long Beach, and I wrote this on a long walk in Long Beach. History cannot be taken until it can, in hand. We know this. How could we not, at least in part? Have mercy. From the app, we discover the secret of guava fruit, and do not love, only we walk and carried the fruit. Such is the kingdom we are, the kingdom today I am with you in. We look at a screen and know we are not in it. In a world of lights, we look at a screen and cannot look away. This makes us good, we say, and we eat the bread, we drink the wine, we eat the fruit. Lord, have mercy. You who pray, how could it be otherwise? Have mercy on us. You who know what cannot be known, weep what we cannot weep. Running the laptop's battery down, the call drops. In the dark of a screen, I see above the blinking light records me still. The soul light that shone that day. I hold you there and am fully known. This will be the last one I read. Thank you all again. Glory be to the asterisk, a star, the stone lying upon the paten. I awoke to the boundary stones moved in the night. I covered my eyes and would not let go. I crossed and covered my feet. Preferring this to not, even when you would not speak, I thought, I will reach for you if you reach for me. I thought, I too shall not speak. I thought, names are given only in mastery. Because you did not reach for me, because I did not reach, I bent low to feed the cat, split my lip on the table's end. She is on my feet. She sits as I write you this. Why do you look for the living among the dead? A name occurs where we dare not speak. Again and again, anaphoric. A name, the already given without as it occurs within. An alcove, coppice stone. No new messages on my phone. Where else for a dove to land? Amen. Thank you.
Okay, another round of applause for Saf and Jos, please. Holy cow, what a joy to get to sit in the dark and tremble while y'all read. It's an honor to get to read with y'all. Are two of my favorite poets, so thanks for coming to this dark theater. Been a fan since seeing you do that like 20-minute poem at Cupsy and whenever, and since reading Safe Space at Dodge, and just been really moved by y'all's work. Thanks for the invitation to come down here and read. Love Beyond Baroque. Was here last like 5 years ago, and I look younger. No, I'm in my daddy era. I got like low grays. But that said, love an excuse to come to LA if you want like a inappropriate entertainer for your kids' quinceañera or bar mitzvah. You know what I mean? Book me. Cool. How are y'all? Good. We're okay. Okay, cool. Thanks for being here. Thanks for traveling from Long Beach, okay, far away from the east side, or whatever that's called. I came from Oakland, California, which somehow feels closer than both those places. Shtick, regional shtick. Okay. Okay, I'm going to read some poems out of this poem, which is a book of poems about pigs. And it's thinking like about the pig kind of as a large taxonomy of like men, okay, and policing and like being a bottom and global ecologies, okay, food, literary pigs. But I also wanted to start with the poem I wrote today. And it's a little vulnerable. Let me time myself to make sure I don't bore people. Okay. Okay, so this is important. Has anyone had crabs in this room? No. Okay, so like keep it to yourself if so, I guess. But okay, so I've had crabs not an infrequent amount of times. And I was like, this seems like I should make a poem about it. This is called All My Friends Are Sluts Too, So How Am I the Only Bitch I Know Who Has Had Crabs? Okay. It's very rough. Okay. Twice in my life, I've been a Las Vegas buffet. Now I live in a city with no 24-hour pharmacy, so drive this living terrarium to Alameda to find a $17 bottle of store-brand insecticide hiding on a back shelf. And the woman at the checkout hands me the receipt saying, sorry, honey, you're not going to be able to return that. Who else but the desperate are here at 2 a.m, wandering the gleaming aisles hunting for poison, buying lice killer and bags of preseason Easter candy as a little treat. Of course I did all my ethical texting, and no one's got them. Of course I comb my mind over the smooth men who've had me, unreachable from the bathhouse, the obnoxious Los Altos mansion orgy, each encounter emptier than a 24-hour pharmacy, than a car abandoned in a parking lot. God, pick one, Sam. There was an air of nothing in the air there, this blood meal weirdly more fulfilling as I think on continuity, on the nature of return. Maybe these are heirs of the lice in my grandfather's pubic hair. Watch out, ancestor. I'm carrying carrion. I'm alive and itching with history. With garish-limbed marigolds, it is nice to feed something that wants nothing but your blood. I think as I lather the permethrin and let it do its silent killing, as I comb myself clean, knowing we were not written, we were spoken. I did not choose this. I was chosen. Okay, that's a poem about having crabs. They're wild. They're like kind of big. You know what I mean? Some of you do, clearly. But it also feels like a ancient disease in some ways, like something that should have been eradicated. Okay, I'm here also in part for my nibbling's birthday. They're 5. Okay, mazel, half a decade. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, and I wrote this before they were born, and it's in my new book. So this is like a 6-7-year-old poem, which is a trip. You know, when you make a book and you're like, wow, that shit's a decade old. Okay, so this is from my nibblings in anticipation of their birth 5 years ago. All right, my brother, knowing my work well, asked I not include any references to semen in the throat in this poem I'm writing you. So I shan't. Instead, semen in the books, semen in the leaves, semen in the ground that grows the semen trees, also known as the calorie pear. Semen in the boat that carried our family here. Semen in the waters where we left our dead. Semen in the meadows where we buried and bled. Semen in the light streaming through the stained glass of our synagogue. The image depicting an ark in an ocean of semen. Gossamer semen. Octopus semen. Garden of semen. There are so many words for you, children, and none of them are dirty, though not all of them are yours. Now, as you eat what your mother eats, her fear is your world torn and thrown to birds, but still the light is thick in the trees. The calorie pears are loud this season, and my throat is bright with flowers for you both, such beautiful flowers. I hardly have the words. So that's for my nibblings. I'm like not so into children, you know what I mean? But that's like my attempt at like optimism, you know? Like I feel like making a book is kind of optimism too, right? I mean, I love my nibblings. It's weird. Is everyone, y'all okay? Okay. Okay, sorry. I'm just like in front of this bisexual flag in this dark light. Okay. Have y'all seen the movie Babe? The feature film Babe? Okay. So I'm wearing a hat with one of an iconic quote from the film. Yep. This is That'll Do Pig. And so this is a poem sort of based on a scene in Babe, which if you don't remember, like Babe is kind of raised by a sheep and there's a sheep mother, and then Babe's sheep mother dies, and then Babe makes the mourning sound, right, in the voice of the sheep. Okay, and so this is Babe the pig does the sheep noise when mourning its sheep mother. Grief is an animal. We all know that. But which animal exactly? What kingdom? What family? Is it ever a fish? Does its voice change as it leaves the body, or is there a bestiary somewhere in the chest? Great bone arc that crates and creates each heaving lamentation, remakes the grieved thing as noise. At the televised funeral, the ingenue performs the gone singer's living song and for a moment is overtaken. Slow howl, opening the painted cage of her mouth. When Sean died, I made sounds I haven't made since. It came into me as wind. It rode me as wind. Okay, that's about Babe, the pig. Let's see, I'm trying to see how much time I have. I'm gonna do maybe 3 more poems. Does that feel cute to this room of people? Okay. Okay, so this new one is, so we're like in the middle of an active genocide in Gaza and Palestine, supported by, and financed and run largely by our government and in collusion with all of our cultural institutions, unless folks have been explicitly advocating against it. And there's a poem I made for a bunch of friends who blocked the Bay Bridge in, what month was that? It's just been endless. November, when Joe Biden was visiting. And so I wrote this for their arraignment, the Bay 78, who just had their charges dropped. But this is, so this is an ode to those who block tunnels and bridges. This was also on that same day, a bunch of JVP orgs or folks blocked 8 bridges on the last day of Hanukkah, I think. Okay, this is an ode to those who block tunnels and bridges. Teach us there can be movement in stillness. In each broken syllable of traffic, a syllabus that says, when you are unwell, we are all unwell. Instead, let us distill business as usual down to the speed of a tree eating light. As usual, business is built from freight trains and warships, even when it's just coffee. These bridges should only connect the living, so when the living turn toward death worship, it's time again to still the delivery of plastics and red meats to the galas of venture capital. Time to reject our gods if they are not the gods who teach us all that comes from dirt returns to it holy. No is the holiest word, I know. No more money for the rat king of money. No more syllogisms that permission endless suffering. No more. And on the 8th day of a holiday meant to represent a people fighting occupation, my teachers stretched a drop of oil into a week of light, take each other's arms across 8 bridges of this settler colony and sing prayers older than any country, even as the chevron burns in the distance. Oh, stilted vernacular of life. Oh, pedagogues of the godly pausing. Oh, what respite lets my Silius spread its speaking limbs beneath the floors of our cities. The only holy land I know is where the living are living. In the story I was taught alongside my first language, it takes God 6 days to make the terrible world. And on the 7th, he rested. And on the 8th, we blocked traffic. Cool. Okay. There's that poem. Yeah, but I'm sure y'all are there, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything interesting to say really, but just to continue to agitate in every space we're at as we grieve through the perpetual, sort of unspeakable and unimaginable violence we're living through. Yeah. Yeah, but glad my friends got their charges dropped. Okay. I know where I'm going. Okay, maybe this ties some things back into the pig. So a fact I learned, this is a little poem, is that it was quite common for invading and colonial armies to have a herd of pigs with them that they would bring with them to feed their soldiers. And I was like, oh shit, that's the fact of the book. And so the pig, well, you'll hear it in the poem, but the pig sort of transformed local ecologies in their wake. So this is called nearly every invading army. Wait, how'd it go? Nearly every invading army, something about pigs. 1 second. Nearly boop boop boop. I think I know where it lives in this book. There we go. Okay, here it is. Nearly every invading army brought pigs with them to feed their soldiers. There it is. All right. They reproduce so quick, Generations could be eaten during a single siege. Adaptable, they followed, devouring towns and forests. So soldiers ate the worlds they invaded. Even after illness swept through the men like wind through a grain silo, the pigs they left behind, killing the hillside, remain. Okay, and that's going to be perfect on timing. I've got one poem left. Yeah, thanks for your sustained attention. Thanks for coming. I know a couple of people came from Long Beach, California as well. Make some noise if you came from Long Beach. Okay, it's proportionally surprising. Okay, so this last poem is for a friend of mine who had this procedure called xenotransplantation, which is where you put like part of an animal organ into your human organ. Yeah. And so he had it in his heart, because I'm our fans. And it's going to end with, I'm going to go like this. And can y'all stop like in time with that? Or maybe on your chest. Yeah, whatever, how you want. Yeah, okay, lovely. So we're going to get there, but we're going to start with words. Yeah, and again, thanks for coming. Maybe I can do it from memory. My friend's got a pig heart in him. Or my friend's got part of a pig's heart, a piece. His heart is part pig. The aortic valve is the dog god guarding the tube blood runs through once it's been scrubbed clean. One of two semi-lunar valves, which sounds like a part of a moon, a piece. My friend's got moons in him, separating the two major atria. My friend is filled with ballrooms, those dark vaulted ceilings. My friend's a vegan. My friend's a vegan with a pig heart, thumping club music. My friend believes the pig in him is vegan too, since it eats what he eats, speaks when he speaks. The pig heart pulses in his chest like the reflection of a moon in the puddle out behind the club once we finish dancing. My friend takes drugs so his body doesn't reject the organ. My friend takes drugs so he can go on dancing, his pig grown to be sewn into a man's ribs, unnaturally selected. No god could have predicted this in any garden still holy, the bit of tissue that lets him live and live. Thin miracle that set another 17 years going inside him. If you listen close with one ear to his chest, you can hear the pig heart singing, calling out to any listening animal, all I want is to live and live and live. Cool. Thank you all so much. Appreciate you. Okay, round of applause for all the readers. Cool, thank you.
Yes, round of applause for all of them. Thank you. Sam, Charles, Safia. It is crazy though, because KCRW was airing this package on a man that was receiving a heart transplant from a pig. And they just started going on about the usual questions of, is it ethical or is it safe, etc. But the person was like, well, we eat pigs and kill them. Is that ethical? You know, but yeah, I think there's that theme for the day. But thank you for your words. And we are organization that supports the speech of writers, the work of writers speaking out against genocide, utilizing their platform to agitate. And I messaged Sam in the midst of all this, and their book speaks on, like they said, all the facets of what a pig is in our current world. And like a poet, all the different facets there is to this word, this embodiment. Is there a Pink Floyd reference in your book, by any chance?
Oh, no.
No, Pink Floyd didn't make it to the cut. No pig man. All right. Well, yeah, and to the Long Beach crabs and to all that. Thank you for all those querencias that happened in this reading. Yeah, just want to say thank you all for being here. And if you want to support Beyond Baroque, you can definitely grab a copy of the author's books tonight. We have copies of Pig, Madness, A Year, and other poems. Also, Girls That Never Die, and Halal, a few other Bright Red Fruit as well. And if you want to become a member to the space, you could also inquire about that in the bookstore. We have memberships for students, seniors, foundations, if you want to support the free programming we have in here every weekend. And that comes with a few perks on merch, books discounts, and a few other special events in store for the year. So thank you all for being here, spending your Thursday evening with us, and feel free to hang out. Yeah, there's books, snacks, drinks outside. Thank you all.